oftentimes in the introductions is about, oh, the definition of power, the definition of power. And I would prefer that we not start there because it is so easy to give a definition. But what is probably more interesting and insightful is to talk about those characteristics of power, because it is the characteristics of power and the way that power moves that tends to get lost in conversations about power. So there is some truths about power, and one is that power is neutral. Power isn't good. Power isn't evil. Power just is. And so it is the way in which power is used, which gives it that good, bad, otherwise value judgment. And a lot of times we start out with the reflexive reaction of value judgment of power as being good or power as being evil, which colors everything else that we say or think about power, right? So power is just neutral. It is neither good nor evil. The sources of power are numerous. Usually when we talk about power, we talk about positional power, but there are many other forms of power that we are going to get into. So power is numerous, and oftentimes power isn't even obvious. We, each of us, wield power all the time, but we will use a different terminology to describe it. But all of us wield some form of power every single day. And as we get deeper into conversations about power, we invite you all to look at the ways in which you wield, share, disguise, hoard power in your day-to-day lives and with whom. Other truisms are that people who have power tend to hang on. They stay way too long at the fair, if you will, because nobody wants to give power up. So people who have power usually hold on to power. They usually tend not to include others in decision making, even when, and this, Chris, gets into an institutional context, even when institutions say, oh, we're going to have power sharing. That still is based on the whims of the real people who hold power and who are saying, okay, we'll power share, and then who can take that back at any moment. So you always know who holds those levers of power, right? And then people who don't feel that they have power tend to participate in power conversations less because they just think, well, why should I? Because I don't have power anyway. So there are ways sometimes where we opt ourselves out of the power that we have, right? Are you all with me as I'm trying to set the playing field for these discussions? Okay, this feels real, right? You all see it, right? Okay. And then power can be visible and felt, or it can be invisible and still felt. We may not know where it's coming from, but we definitely know that it is there. Power can be codified and legitimized, like we see in laws and policies, like we see in our households in terms of who makes those decisions and who are bound by those decisions. I will use the easiest example yet, parents and power, right? We don't look at that as power, but it is power. And power can be delegitimized. Power can be demonized. Power can be criminalized. And an example of that, and not to get political, but one person in power made a statement earlier this week that protesting a certain car manufacturer is illegal. So the power of the protest, right, was being criminalized in that moment. And what gave that characteristic of criminalization of protest power is because of the positional power that the person held.